You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I wanted to talk about this a little earlier, but I wanted to get as many details as I could on the gentleman in New York who died being sucked into an MRI machine. This has brought up a lot of questions as to what happened. I know a lot of people are now freaked out about having an MRI. And as a physician, I'm a little bit confused as to the safety protocols and what happened, because it sounds like we're getting a couple different stories, and the end result is somebody tragically died who didn't have to. And so what we're being told, this is from CNN, that last week, a 61-year-old gentleman had been wearing a metallic chain. Now, other reports are saying it's a weight chain. He uses it for weightlifting, but he was wearing a chain around his neck. And he went to help his wife, who was having an MRI at the time at Nassau Open MRI in Westbury, New York on Long Island. He was wearing a, quote, large metallic chain around his neck, but he was not the patient. He came in to help the patient as I believe the patient felt she was done and needed him to help her get up because she was being MRI'd for a knee, his wife. The victim apparently had this large metallic chain around his neck. It caused him to be drawn into the machine. And from there, he was stuck for at least an hour. And from what we're told, he had multiple heart attacks, ended up dying the next day of a heart attack from what happened from, obviously, the traumatic MRI incident. Now, many people are concerned about how this could happen. You don't want your family members sucked into a machine. Let me see if I have any more details here. The man's entry in the room, according to police, occurred while the scan was in progress, not when the procedure was done. Some reports are saying the procedure was done. The wife was getting up, says, I need your help. He comes into the room to help, and then he gets sucked into the machine. The question people always ask is, if the machine is turned off, is there still a magnetic impulse? Because that's what an MRI is, a magnetic resonance imaging. And technically, yes. Even if the machine is off, you could still have that attraction and that pulsation and the magnetism. But according to the police, the scan was still in progress. He was taken to the hospital, critical condition, declared dead the following day. His name was Keith McAllister. He was helping his wife, Adrienne Jones McAllister. And she was the one undergoing the MRI. She says he went limp in his arms, so she was trying to pull him off. The tech, from what we understand, was trying to pull him off. We don't have yet comments from Nassau Open MRI, who was investigating this. But these are very powerful magnets. They stimulate protons in a patient placed inside the machine. And then when as the protons is actually a fascinating, the magnetic energy of the protons is what the MRI reads when the magnet is on. And then when the magnet shuts off, there's a radio frequency pulse that gets disrupted. We see the alignment get disrupted. The way the protons go back into position gets read by the machine, and depending on tissues, and that's how it picks up images. It's a fascinating science. It's just a tragedy like this shouldn't happen. And I've had multiple MRIs. You don't get buck naked, but I am told to remove everything, including bra, because just in case there's any metal in the bra. Mostly I have Kleenex, but we have to have, they let you wear your underwear and you have a gown. So you're completely disrobed. They even give you socks to wear. So you're not wearing your own socks and shoes. No toe rings, no earrings, no nipple rings, no, everything is no metal. And then if you do need assistance, usually they have, so when you're called back for an MRI, they don't usually have family members come. If they do, then the family members also have to disrobe. Unless again they expected that the machine would be. I don't know what happened. Usually you don't go back into the room and you're completely disrobed in a gown before you could go into the room yourself. And even as a physician, when I would go in to check on a patient and be there, no metal, everything had to be removed. So a big question is, how did this happen? Now, police are saying he came in unauthorized. Now, these MRI rooms are pretty soundproof because MRIs make a loud noise. So the wife said she called to him to help her up, but he wouldn't be allowed to be in the room. He would have to be outside. If he was in the room wearing a chain, then he would have already been sucked in. So then you wonder, was the tech not following proper protocol? Was he not helping her? Or did the man enter the room, sadly, not understanding the rules? But the thing is to get to the MRI, there's doors, there's multiple. The waiting area is the waiting room in the front lobby. So there's a lot of confusion. And as a doctor, I want to make sure we understand exactly what happened, because people are freaking out about getting heart attacks and MRIs. The MRI risk, one of the biggest risks of the MRI is any metal. And all techs and all radiology companies make you go through extensive, like I said, prep before you go into the MRI. And family members, again, in the lobby, unless this was a breach. And sadly, nobody should have died. This is frightening. And was he worried about her? Did she call out to him? How did he hear her call out? There's just a lot of questions. And so we definitely need to hear from the MRI facility what exactly happened. All we got from the police was that he entered unauthorized. Well, we still need more details. How does somebody get from the lobby into the MRI room? What was he concerned about? Was he afraid she was getting hurt? MRIs have been used for decades now. What they could pick up in terms of pathology is amazing. It's just there's a huge risk if there's any metal, and so we need a lot more clarification as to what happened. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I love these stories where you hear animals pick up people's pathology. It's so true. This isn't, oh, look, I got some beautiful background music on my computer. Sorry about that. The idea that your dog, your golden retriever, your lab, my Bichon, I got a little Bichon Frise. Oh, does she have a little attitude too? They could pick up things in the medical realm, whether they're trained or not. And I have seen time and time again this happen. My husband had a very good friend. He was one of the best men at our wedding. He ended up having a brain tumor and dying a few years later. But when he would come to the house, my husband's house, as a teenager, the dog would bark viciously at him. And the dog was a standard poodle, never having an issue with any other dog, but had an issue with him, didn't like him. And we couldn't figure out why. And so one of the first experiences with this is my husband asked, could the dog have picked up the tumor? I'm like, I don't think the dog is that smart, to be barking at somebody that I just didn't believe it. And then we would hear case after case where an animal would act around somebody who had a different illness. Now, you'll also hear animals debride their owners. Remember, there was and don't eat your lunch or dinner while listening to this, but there was a gentleman who had a gangrenous toe from diabetes, and his dog cured him by biting off the toe and then licking the wound, saving his foot. You're like, what? Then there was a woman whose dog would always be like licking one of her breasts while she was dressed, clothed. And she's like, what is this dog doing always on this breast? And she ended up having breast cancer on that side. So I really believe that animals could pick things up. Well, scientists have been training animals. We're being told that a trained dog can smell Parkinson's disease before it shows up. There's a new study from the University of Bristol where dogs were found to detect Parkinson's disease well before symptoms appear, according to Fox News. Now, why? Well, people with Parkinson's may have an odor because they may have increased amounts of sebum in their skin. Now, sebum is this oily, waxy substance on the skin. When you, let's say, have blackheads, things like that, what comes out might be sebum. If you have a sebaceous cyst and there's this white cottage cheesy type substance that could come out of the wound or the cyst, that's sebum. And they believe that maybe that's how they are picking up on Parkinson's. The new study looked at 2 dogs that had been trained for more than 200 odor samples. They were presented with skin swabs from 130 people with Parkinson's and 175 people without the disease. Now, the dogs were a golden retriever named Bumper and a black lab named Peanut. And they were rewarded for positively identifying Parkinson's samples and for ignoring negative ones. The dogs showed sensitivity of up to 80%, which means they could identify people who had the disease 80% of the time. The specificity was 98%, showing how good they were at ruling out people who didn't. And those numbers are better than some tests we have. The University of Bristol collaborated with the medical detection dogs and the University of Manchester on the study. This was published in the Journal of Parkinson's Disease. Now, we don't have screening tests. We look at warning signs as it pertains to Parkinson's, a shuffling gait, a flat affect, where one's face is not necessarily expressive. We look at cognitive deficits, but for a dog to be able to pick up on this is it's incredible, but not shocking to me, because dogs are pretty smart. The study says that Claire Guest, Chief Scientific Officer at Medical Detection Dogs in UK, said that this study confirms that dogs could very accurately detect the disease. Sensitivity levels of 70 to 80% are well above chance. And they believe that dogs could help us develop a quick, non-invasive, and cost-effective method to identify patients with Parkinson's. They say timely diagnosis is key so we could intervene. So non-invasive skin swabs could offer a fast, easy, painless way to detect Parkinson's. Now, people with Parkinson's that have been diagnosed, Michael J. Fox, Janet Reno, Robin Williams, Muhammad Ali, Casey Kasem, Johnny Cash, Linda Ronstadt, Pope John Paul II had Parkinson's. I believe Peanuts creator Charles Schultz had it. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Neil Diamond, Ozzy Osbourne. They believe Adolf Hitler had Parkinson's as well. And so the symptoms include stiffness and rigidity, poor balance, a tremor at rest. We call it a pill rolling tremor, where it looks like the person with their hand is rolling a pill between their fingers, even though there's no pill. Slower movement, shuffling steps, difficulty moving. And then, unfortunately, Parkinson's could lead to depression, anxiety, memory loss, constipation, issues smelling, difficulty swallowing, erectile dysfunction, pneumonia. People with Parkinson's are more prone to falling and then getting fractures, and that's sequelae. Some people with Parkinson's could have hallucinations, delusions, dementia. And then, unfortunately, if they can't take care of themselves, they could die. The average onset of Parkinson's is 60 years old, but we have seen early onset under the age of 50 in individuals. Juvenile onset Parkinson's starts at the age of 20. Michael J. Fox had early onset, where he was younger when I believe he was in his late 20s, early 30s. Your risk could be enhanced with head trauma. Men appear to be more affected than women. Herbicide exposure, pesticide exposure could increase risk. There's been some studies looking at cigarette smoking and how those who smoke cigarettes may have a lower risk of Parkinson's, but this is not anything that has been frequently replicated or urged just because of all the side effects and smoking causing deleterious effects on your heart, brain function, cancer, etc. So we have levodopa, which converts to dopamine in the brain. And then we have carbidopa, which allows the levodopa to work longer. We have other dopamine agonists and other medications that we could use. But, this is one of the, Parkinson's is one of those, I think the second most common neurodegenerative disorder next to Alzheimer's. 60 to 70,000 new cases every year. What it does is it affects the substantia nigra, which is the part of the brain that manages balance and movement by affecting dopamine. And people with Parkinson's, they'll lose a lot of function and sometimes be misdiagnosed as having Alzheimer's. Pets picking up disease is, I think, one of the coolest fields in medicine that we need to look at. There was Stephanie Herfel of Wisconsin. She was experiencing abdominal pain, and her dog Sierra kept sniffing her. The dog would keep putting her nose on her belly, and she says, quote, she sniffed so intently that I thought I spilled something on my clothes. After multiple sniffs, she went to the emergency room, and she eventually was diagnosed with ovarian cyst, which was encompassing stage 3 ovarian cancer. Stephanie was a Marine veteran and credited her Siberian Husky for picking up her ovarian cancer. Michelle Pearson had a cat that helped detect her breast cancer. A woman in California said her dog, that was the one, the dog kept licking her breast, eventually diagnosed with breast cancer. Michelle Pearson had a cat, and that cat kept sniffing her breast, alerting her to breast cancer. So dogs can smell 40 times better than humans, with over 300 million olfactory receptors in their nose. Being able to smell parts per trillion, this is huge. So it's fascinating. Trust your dogs, but get yourself checked out, of course. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I have been an outcast ever since I was a little girl because I swear a lot. Now, many of you have not necessarily heard a lot of it because on the radio, there's a lot of FCC restrictions. But I have been dropping F-bombs, words my whole life. And because it's not societally accepted, I've been very limited with some of my career opportunities. Even though the average doctor cusses, the average radio host cusses, and I'm a little excited about what's been going on, hearing all these Democrats and even Trump dropping F-bombs all over the place, because maybe that could soon be normalized so I could at least have a platform again. I keep getting ostracized for my potty mouth. But the F-bombs, they're starting to get a little too much. I think there's a way to discuss politics and things you might be unhappy with. But we've talked about why people cuss. It allows you to have another avenue of emotion. So if you think somebody is not listening to the actual content of your words, you could inflect your voice, you could enunciate, you could punctuate, and these cuss words kind of give that punch. Well, yesterday, Hunter Biden, was it yesterday on a podcast? He just went off. And it was a string of F-bombs. And he obviously looked very, very unhappy about how his father was treated. And boy, did he go off on George Clooney. He said he spared no feelings for the Ocean's 11 star. Being reported by AP News, he was pretty ticked off that George Clooney had taken out an ad in the New York Times. That was a whole very interesting thing. George Clooney, after he was there for a fundraiser, decides, you know what, I think I need to save my own skin. I mean, there's only so much I could do supporting somebody. And then how do I answer the fact that I'm not noticing, his lack of ability to run a country? So to save his butt, George Clooney takes out an ad, which cost a lot of money, talking about how he doesn't think that Biden is the right candidate based on what he has seen in recent months. We all saw it years ago. We saw it when he was Obama's vice president. But George Clooney was trying to save the Democratic Party. And now there's been a lot of back and forth. People are blaming him for Kamala Harris's loss. I mean, would Biden really have beat Kamala Harris? Who knows? But Hunter Biden's ticked. He goes, quote, and don't worry, I won't cuss. What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his blanking life to the services of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the blanking New York Times to undermine the president? And he went off. I don't know if he was high or if he was lucid. This is the most I've heard Hunter Biden talk. And then he goes off on James Carville, who was advisor to former President Bill Clinton, hasn't run a race in 40 blinking years. And, he goes off. And so you see, obviously, the Biden family is sore. And the one thing that I don't think helps the Democrats is when you have the Obamas, you have the Clintons, you have the Bidens, very powerful families not get along. I thought the Clintons and the Obama, they got along. No. I thought Jill was good friends with Kamala Harris. I didn't know that they didn't like each other. When you don't like each other, you don't really. I believe the Democrats could have been a lot more successful than they were, especially with the popularity from Obama and Bill Clinton. And after the email scandal, I mean, look at all the help Hillary Clinton got from the FBI. And so here's Hunter Biden being very frustrated, where he should have been very easily son to a father who had the support of Obama and the Clintons, and the Democratic Party turned their back on him. I thought what happened to Biden was ridiculous in terms of not asking him to step down, but he should have never run in the first place. I'm watching the Democratic primary, and you're seeing Pete Buttigieg. Kamala Harris was one of the first out. She wasn't popular. Beto O'Rourke, not with the whole gun issue. He didn't do that well. Pete Buttigieg could have gone farther, but he was a mayor prior to this, and so it's really hard to elect a mayor as a president as opposed to somebody who's a governor. A governor is obviously a much better chance even than a senator or congressperson. So they didn't have, even though I think they could have had, they could have had Michelle Obama. They could have had Oprah. They could have had a lot of people. At the time, Dr. Oz might have even run who knows? But they had a lot of options. And once the field narrowed down, they were left with Biden. And I even saw, no, that's not going to work. He's barely going to make the first 4 years. We all saw it. You didn't have to be a doctor to be able to figure that out. And so Hunter's ticked, but if Hunter is mad at the way they did his father in and did him wrong, he never should have run. And they should have started working on his exit plan early. As I said, what I thought was going to happen was Biden would be asked to make history by promoting his vice president, him retiring near the end of his term, promoting his vice president, allowing her now to be an incumbent, and he gets the credit for giving us the first female president. And that didn't happen. Why? Because I didn't realize they didn't like each other. And then they didn't really give Kamala much to do, and what she was told to do or did, she did miserably. She didn't, she lost in the primary because she didn't have, what it takes. She didn't have the popularity, let alone the resume. And so it was a mess. But, I'm hearing all this cussing, whether it's for Trump, whether it's from Trump, whether it's, is that really the way to go? Is that how we're going to be getting our message across? I don't think it's very effective, because when you do keep dropping the F-bombs, right? And I understand the very first time I'm mad, I'm angry. Okay, some Democrats are angry. Republicans were angry last term. Democrats are angry now. I get that. And I understand it goes viral when somebody could get that quote with that F and then the dash, 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 or a couple ampersands and dollar signs or whatever to cover up the cuss word. But the more you do it, now you start to look like a crybaby. Now you start to look like you're high. Now, it's one thing to say this was messed up. Now, this was blanked up. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Period. Let's move on. But I feel like it's just getting repeated and repeated. And if you're just sitting there going blank, 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 it doesn't get done. Now, it's interesting when we diagnose somebody with diabetes or cancer or Parkinson's, like we just spoke about, we allow there to be that time for people to absorb it, understand, maybe grieve that, okay, now I have to deal with this. And you could cuss as much as you want. But when you're done, let me know when you're ready. And now we're going to take it to the next step and we're going to work on it. We're going to fight. You can't really do that when the person is dropping the F-bomb. You got to wait till they finish, and I feel like that's kind of what's happening now with the Democrats, where it's still about what happened with the election. It's still the F-bombs. And, when are you going to show us, okay, well, now we're going to, progress. Now we're going to take what we learned and become a better party. And I think we're still in the F-bomb stage. I don't know how much longer that's going to go on for. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners has a son who's on his third job in a year, and he sees that his son isn't very motivated, and he's struggling, to inspire him. And, one thing I've noticed just in the last decade or two is that, unless you have some skin in the game, or you get a piece of the pie, or you feel some ownership or a chance to grow, it's really hard to bond with your current job. It's really hard to bond with your current manager. Your managers can't bond with you if they think upper management is going to fire you. And I see this a lot. I see this in academia. I see this where people are getting fired all the time, and they just, people that are left are wondering, when am I next? If there's no loyalty and there's no, I got your back from the company, why would I, put any more time or effort in? I might as well be looking for a new job. I see this in marketing. I see this in media. I see this where, if somebody doesn't have your back, or you don't feel like you are going to grow or have some ownership or some loyalty, that it's really, that's what I think is really ruining the relationship. There's something called quiet cracking. To me, quiet cracking is similar to quiet quitting. Since COVID, we're hearing all these terms, quiet quitting and all. So quiet quitting refers to workers that are slacking off a job they no longer want, where they're like, you know what? I need to get fired to get unemployment. So I'm just going to do a half-assed job, get fired, and then I could get the unemployment because I don't want to be here anymore, as opposed to saying, take this job and shove it. Quiet cracking refers to those who gradually become, this is according to, hold on a second, let me give credit where credit is due, MoneyWise, gradually become mired in feeling both unappreciated by managers and closed off from career advancement while doing work they otherwise like. Or they get into a funk and they not only disengage, but they are, quote unquote, silently cracking under pressure. Now, you're hearing all this, and, I'm looking at the jobs. I'm looking at where AI is going, how people are applying for jobs and bots are rejecting them. And I think the answer is simple. We lost small business. Small business was one of the cures for this. Because if you did work for a small business and they had room for partner or part owner or ways to move up, you would feel entrenched in that. You would have a bond. You would be connected. And corporations are taking over everything. And if you're working for a corporation and they don't know who you are, and they're just listening to a manager who is talking crap about you, you're not going to want to engage with them or do a good job. And, for me, when I was going through medical school sucked. Okay, that was difficult. It cost a lot of money. Plus, I'm trying to wait tables to help support my family, and I'm not my personal, my extended family. I was not married or had kids at the time. Yeah, the long hours, the 36-hour shifts. But what drove me is that I was going to have my own place. I might work for it wasn't going to be a big salary. It was that I was going to have my own place so that I could start having a family if I had to take off and have kids and go to their Christmas pageant or whatever. It would be, I would have autonomy and I would maybe get to live the life I want to live. Well, Obamacare changed all that. I couldn't take off. There was, money not coming in because insurance said there were high deductibles. Patients couldn't pay. We were in this big recession throughout the teens. And I ended up working so many hours that I rarely saw my kids, grow up. But I tried to make everybody who worked with us, we had people who worked with us for years, feel like they had room to grow. They were going to become manager, and they did. We promoted. We wanted. I would show them everything so they saw what we accomplished, the lives we saved. What the profits and loss were. What. And I wanted to make sure anybody who worked there felt like it wasn't that they were just there to clock in and clock out. We were making a difference, and they were the one of the sole reasons for that. That's kind of a main reason for that. You can't say sole because sole is just one person. So, but they did, and it's. When I look and see, because some people, they want to just kind of blend in, maybe be a wallflower, maybe not ping the radar. But a lot of people, they want to grow. They want to be stars. They want to shine. They want to own their own business. I know a couple who's a power couple. They're in their young 30s. I love these guys to death. They're like family to me. And I'm like, you guys could own your own business. You guys are rock stars for this company. And you could just see they are busting their butts. Now, hopefully the company they're working for is treating them well and they're promoting them and paying them well. But, people need to know that what they're doing is getting acknowledged. And the harder they work, the better the outcome. We've changed all that. In fact, I was working in a place where people were telling me, you make us look bad when you work hard. So work less. Because otherwise, we, in comparison, look like we're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. And I'm not trying to make you look bad. I'm just trying to fix a situation. And I'm trying to help the customers. But I was told, don't. Just lay low. Clock in and clock out. Well, that's not how I want to live my life. And I don't want to outshine anybody. I just want to do a damn good job and grow. I need to grow. I need to know I'm producing something. And that's going to turn into something else and turn into something else. For some people, it's money. For other people, it's, I want to see this holiday, this National Blood Donation Day, grow. I want to see these kids learn. I want to see these people get better. I need to know that I improved people's lives. And we're missing that. If you're working for a corporation and the corporation says, yes, there's a track, go online, look at this track and see if you get promoted and see if you, for a lot of people, they know it's BS. You could promise partnership. You could promise this, but once they figure that out, now they're tainted or they're jaded. And when it comes to other jobs, they're like, well, I'm just going to get screwed over. So is the cure you owning your own business? I mean, for me, I cannot wait to get out of bed in the morning. I know that's odd because I cannot wait to get on air. I cannot wait to log in and see patients. And maybe it's because I get paid per patient. I don't get paid a lot, but if I don't work, I don't get paid. But if I want to get paid, I need to work. And I maybe salary jobs are fantastic and you make good money, but maybe that does breed laziness. Because if you're going to get paid no matter what you do, you end up not doing more. I think you should, any job you do, bust your butt and do 1,000%. Give everything 100%. But that's not what we're seeing. And people are feeling disengaged. They feel like they're not growing. And I think it's because in the olden days, you would own your own business. You would create something. That was the American dream. Now it's come up with an idea or go viral or come up with an app, sell it to somebody and make money and then go on a yacht. Not everybody can do that. But if that's the American dream, no wonder everyone is disillusioned. No wonder everyone feels inferior. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.